Hey, what's up? It's Tony. Question today is, who should you be listening to when you're diagnosed with a health issue, specifically in this case, BPH, or anything to do with the prostate? I can't speak to other diagnoses and other things. I can only speak to what I went through. I believe they're probably similar to what happens once you start to let everybody around you know what's going on with your health diagnosis. And the funny thing is that everybody is going to offer their opinion. Everybody's going to offer, what they would do. Everybody's going to run quickly to Google and Google in whatever it was that you went through, and then they're going to offer verbatim, read from Google exactly what you should do and what you should try, and have you done this and have you done that, and this is what I do. So, and including also too, my favorite is, I have a friend of a friend whose uncle's brother went through this, and here's what they did, right? And so, listen, I'm all for support. I really, really am. I just think that during this particular time, unless you've walked in the shoes, it's very difficult to give somebody advice on how to move forward. I think that the most important person you should be talking to right away is your specialist, in this case, your urologist. There were, I couldn't personally speak to my family for, I think it was 6 weeks. I think I spoke to my mother a little bit during that time, and then my brother and sister, I really couldn't speak to them, and several friends, because in their quest to make me feel better, or support, or what have you, right? And I know that their intention was good. I think that they were ending up making me feel more confused and more bad. So, there was some advice given to me about, did you try this homeopathic root? Did you try this herbal ingredient? Did you try mixing turmeric and taking paprika and jumping in a circle and dancing to a full moon, right? The list went on and on and on and on. And I get it. They were trying to help. But the problem is that mentally I didn't have much room left for the patience of this and their goodwill. It just wasn't in me. I was just trying to get through the day, dealing what was in front of me, and that could have been my mistake. Maybe I had missed some great points. But in terms of my diagnosis and where I was with my health issue, right, it was beyond any of the advice of what I could do to reverse what was happening. And so it just sounded like air to me. I'm faced with the decision already of what the diagnosis was, and the positioning and the irregularity and the shape and what have you. So I was beyond these medications or these herbal remedies, and maybe they work, what I'm saying? But in my case, right, I was past that. But the people that were giving me this information didn't know that, and I just didn't have the strength to say, listen, I'm so far beyond that, right? I'm in a place where I'm going to end up needing surgery. And so it caused me a lot of, angst, right, and, I think that some people may have been, I don't know, upset or what have you. But, at that point, I really didn't care, because this is about my well-being, and because I was alone, right, long after they hang up, after, spewing out their random advice about a friend of a friend of a friend, right, I have to live with this situation, and I have to move forward. And that's the difference. They can go on about their day, but I'm thinking about, like, what have they just said, and adding more confusion, where do I go, and what have you. And it was like, I didn't need that. So you may be different, but I personally believe that you should be careful of the sources of information that you're getting and where they're coming from. And unless that person has been through it personally and you've seen the direct results, and then also to your diagnosis, you have to be really cognizant to make sure that you're not absorbing stuff that is not, basically consider the source, is what I'm trying to say. So if you have been diagnosed with BPH and your numbers are going up and they're watching, yes, of course, you can take under the advice of a professional in the medical field, your urologist, you can attempt these other ways of healing and reversing the size of your prostate. You can try all of these things and see how it goes, but it should be under clinical supervision, because it is something that you don't want to mess with. Trust me, you don't want to mess with this situation. And find out later on that if you had taken a different proactive step from a professional in the medical field that specializes in what you're going through, you may have saved yourself a lot of time and heartache. So to tie this up, right, be careful where you get your information from. I can only speak, and it will always only speak to you as a person that went through it, what I learned, what my experience was, to give you pause for thought about what you should be asking, what you should be looking for, and those kind of things, how to live with a catheter, blah, 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 right? But because I started these videos, right, because there was no information, my urologist was my information, and I followed his guidance and the nurse's guidance to a T. Living with it was another story. There was no information, but in terms of like what I believe worked for me was to make sure that I followed their advice and really distance myself away from the people that didn't know what they were talking about, and didn't know the full extent of my diagnoses and where my options had become limited. Because I do want to mention this, I did try for several weeks the medications that are out there, the finasteride. There was something else, I don't remember exactly what it was, and I had great hope that those things, because they've proven to be effective, would work. And my doctor said, okay, Tony, listen, this is the size of your prostate. This is what caused you incontinence that led you to having a catheter, right? You probably are well past the size that your prostate is to do any reversing, any shrinkage, if you will, so that you can urinate on your own. And so, but I had hope, right? And so he was like, okay, absolutely, let's give it a try, because that's what you want. And I did, and unfortunately it didn't work. So just want to tie this up by saying, you know what? Watch your sources, right? Watch who you're listening to, right? There is a time frame in terms of like, when you should be, or can try alternative medicines, which I'm all for, East meets West and what have you. But again, it's under the guidance of your urologist, and take it from there.